What's going on, everyone? Welcome into GDT Live, presented by the Game Day Types podcast. My name's Dayton Kamo, but alongside me today is Colton Davies and Riley Harrison, the founder of GDT. He's got the day off. He's actually got something pretty cool going on behind the scenes in his life, backstage, you would say. And he's able to join us today. So, we always like to try and get some of the other boys on screen here. Riley had the chance to today, and we're lucky enough to have him. So welcome in, Riley, to a episode of GDT Live. We're going to have Jay Rosehill. He was drafted by the team on those jerseys behind you.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think, obviously, he didn't play for the Lightning, but drafted by them. So that's incredible in itself. You know, for the career he had carved out as a seventh rounder, it's going to be exciting to talk to him about that and see kind of how he carved his way through pro hockey, because it's not easy no matter what, really, who you are and what role you get. So yeah, it's cool. It's gonna be fun to talk to him.
Colton, how's it going today? We did something cool. I don't know if you want to say that or you want to save that for later.
But no, we can say it. There's a whole 3 people watching us right now, so we can say it. But for the people that will be listening afterwards, Jake O'Brien interview. Dayton and I had the chance to talk to him, thanks to Reed Duffy of the Brentford Bulldogs for making Jake available. Dayton and I had the chance to talk to Jake O'Brien, Seattle Kraken's 8th overall pick, and that'll drop Monday, as I will be on a flight going to Toronto, the worst airport in the fucking world, on Monday. Can't wait to get lost.
That's why you just fly to Billy Bishop. You fly into the city. You're coming from BC, you fly with Porter, they fly right into Billy Bishop. That's 5 minutes from wherever you want to go. So it's so easy. Simple.
Porter Airlines.
Yeah, in BC, in Vancouver. My buddy flies Porter from BC.
I think out of Vancouver, yeah.
So go to Vancouver.
Yeah,
my flight's already booked.
Yeah, I know, I'm joking. Next time, for future instances.
Our airport sucks. It's like Winnipeg airport. It just sucks.
How many gates does it have?
2.
Oh, 2. Shit. Really?
Yeah, we have 2 plane parking spots. There's WestJet, Air Canada.
I was about to compare it to Halifax for a second, but I'm not going to lie. That sucks.
It is notably not good airport.
When you come here, you'll see what it's like. So have fun with that.
Flying into Kamloops.
Kelowna mops us. They have daily flights to Cancun straight out of Kelowna, and we can't even get a flight to Vancouver more than twice a week.
That's tough. Yeah.
Well, fellas, there's a couple every day, but still.
Yeah, I know.
There was a couple things that we wanted to touch on before, and I guess the first one was the Frank Nazar extension. What do you think of that, Colton?
7 years, $6.6 million. It's reported by Frank Saravalli. That's good. That's good. It's a good pickup. Like Stephen Ellis tweeted, a friend of the show. It's a good value contract. Something that it'll look good in a few years for sure for Chicago, and good for Nazar. Marco Rossi, another player that is nearing a contract extension as well, according to Michael Russo. He tweeted that out this morning. So interesting that Nazar signed his. Wonder what Rossi would get. But what do you two make of Nazar signing his extension?
I think it's pretty perfect. One good year. I see a lot of people I just saw a tweet complaining he's making less than Besser and Granlund and Anders Lee and all these guys. And it's he had a good season on a bad team. What's going to happen when the team rounds out? Is he going to be more than a 50-point guy? Is he going to be around there? Is he going to get to 80? I think 6.6 is fine, because everyone talks about the cap going up, but you can't give that kid $9 million today, even if it is going to equal $6.6 million in 5 years.
Man,
you can't give him that.
Well, no. What about Bedard? What's he going to get? 10.5?
Probably 11. They need to keep him happy.
Yeah, that's true. 11.98.
No, stop with that number stuff. All these players
Number
asking
one.
9.8.
The 11 is for him going number 1 overall. So there's one number the ones, and then the 98's for his number.
It's like the Nylander contract. Like the number of his contract was the same. It was like 92 million overall or something, and his dad wore number 92. It was like the same number correlated with the contract. Anyways, I see more of that these days.
It's cool. I don't know why you hate it.
I don't hate it, but it's just like, what if the player's like just taking the number? He doesn't really deserve the number, but he's taking the number just because, like, I don't know.
That's
Who
true.
am I to say?
Yeah, who are you to say anything? That's true.
Well, fellas, we do have Jay Rosehill backstage. I'm going to jump backstage. Riley's going to take my spot on this one. So good luck, fellas. But I guess before that, Colton will pop up that Quench ad.
Feel your grind with Quench Hydration, 0 sugar, bold flavor, and real results. Get 15% off your first order at quenchhydration.ca with code GameDayTarpsPodcast. Jay, how's it going today?
Hey guys, how we doing? I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. We want to talk a little bit about your NCAA career, dive into your NHL stuff. What made you choose Minnesota Duluth and go the NCAA route?
Yeah, I get that quite a bit when people find out that I did play NCAA. To me personally, I guess combination of things. I felt like a late bloomer. Like I wasn't I wasn't standing out on my teams from the time I was 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. But once you started playing, I guess once I got through puberty, I guess I really took to like the hit hockey and the physical side and how you can, the intensity of it all. So I kind of started to stand out in that way as a defenseman that liked to play physical, probably around 14, 15. Then all of a sudden, you're playing junior and you got these decisions to make and you're looking down the barrel of a big decision. And I was like, man, I just started to get my feet wet here. I'd seen other people from my area at the time, ruin their eligibility by going to the dub, even staying at a camp too long or playing an exhibition game. And if it didn't work out there, I mean, it's more of a professional deal there. It's more cutthroat. You're more, at the time, kind of a piece of meat, you felt like, a name on a piece of paper. They could promise you the world and just toss you aside at the drop of a hat. And that happened to a lot of guys. And I saw it, and they were just left with their hat in their hand and they had nowhere to go, nowhere to play. And I thought, man, I'm really just getting into this thing. People think I might be able to get drafted. People think, you could get a full ride and go. And I thought, if I go down NCAA and really work on the other parts of my game, give myself a chance to develop, I think that'll give me the best chance at making it to the NHL. And the other part was I got listed with Seattle. I live in central Alberta, so small town as well. The thought of moving to Seattle and going to high school in Seattle and not living with my family, it just was kind of like, it didn't interest me that much. Like I was basically terrified of it. So I could stay at home in my small town. My older brother played on the local junior A team as well. It had a good coach that was, I really wanted to play for. And it just seemed like a better opportunity. So even though I played like kind of a maniac at times and wasn't the prototypical NCAA guy and was kind of built for the dub, because I wasn't really good my first year bantam, I didn't get drafted to a dub team. I got listed. So I didn't think I had high enough stock there to guarantee myself a good future by rolling the dice and going down to Seattle.
And I get that. Like, I'd always wondered about you though, because you're from Olds, you're from that area, and I always wondered why you never went the WHL route, because like you would have been a fucking machine in the WHL. Like, I don't know, but it makes sense. Like, you don't want to move to that big city. I wouldn't want to either at 16 years old. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was. And I don't know, my family wasn't like, we had 3 kids playing hockey. We did it all. but like my parents weren't like hyper focused on the next level. Like we were kind of driving the machine and they were just driving the car and taking us where we made it. They didn't know what the next step was. And, when me and my brother started playing midget AAA and playing junior, my dad's was like, wow, this is like, what's scholarship? Where? What is, like, they knew nothing, right? Because we just, we lived on a ranch and had our family was kind of around cattle, and the kids happened to play hockey, and we just kind of went far with it and took them by surprise. They were super supportive and were awesome the whole way through it, but we were learning as we went. And so it wasn't like I was prepared to do that. And I wasn't fighting a lot in junior. I didn't want to get turned into a fighter at that point in time. There's not a lot of, I don't want to say practice time, but I felt like I needed to get better. And when you're riding the bus from Seattle to Brandon, it's just, you're kind of slugging it out as a mini pro. And I just thought, I just don't know. I think it would be too easy to get chewed up and spit out. And I guess just thinking long term, I guess it just seems safer to go to the NCAA route and give myself more time.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I was thinking about for you, Jay, was like, how did you kind of have to rein yourself back going to a no fighting, more structured league in the college route than just kind of, like you said, going the WHL route? Maybe you did become more of a fighter and you got to play your rough shot style of hockey. Like, what was it kind of like going to that more structured system in the NCAA?
Well, like I said, I didn't fight a ton like in junior. I did when I had to. If it might sound like a lot now, but maybe the most I had was 10 or 12 fights, or maybe 6 the first year, like not tons. But it was the hitting and the running around. And, as a defenseman, I would wheel the net and I could skate all right. I could get the red line. I'd high flip it behind the D-man and I'd keep going and I'd run their D-man as a D-man. Like, it was kind of silly now, but back in the day, you could just run around a lot more. And I would do that in college. And my coach at UMD, Scott Sandelin, he was a rugged defenseman. He liked that kind of thing. And I had to rein it in a little bit. Like, you're not chasing your own dumps down and kind of really gonging it up like you could back in the early 2000s. But I led the country in penalty minutes and I didn't have one fight because they just weren't used to hitting like that. And I would just crush guys and they didn't want the puck anymore. And I would get 2 minutes for charging, 2 minutes for whatever they wanted to call it, because it was just too big of a hit. And now it would be a hit to the head and stuff. Those guys would lead the way with their head down right through the neutral zone. I'd just step up and crush them. I was laughing. I'm like, why don't these guys know that it's hit hockey? And I'd get 3 or 4 2-minute minors a game. And it seems like a lot now for sure, but my coach just said, we'll kill every one of those. Like, it's they don't want the puck anymore. And it was kind of a strength of mine. And so I guess to the answer to your question, I didn't change a whole heck of a lot. Sometimes guys on my team would be like, hey, like, there's a puck out there, right? Because I'd just be looking for the hit. So maybe a little bit too far that way, but I learned and adjusted. And I guess just the amount of time that you have in the gym, on the ice, you have sheets of ice to yourself all the time. You can use that to your advantage. You're practicing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and really going through learning the game and the systems and how things work and putting the time in. I only stayed 1 year. So I didn't ended up needing, I guess, that much time to develop. I still could have used it, but I happened to leave and go play pro just because my style was just not totally suited for NCAA. But that 1 year, I think I learned a lot and got better and helped me understand the game a little bit more.
Do you have a favorite memory from your 1 year at Duluth?
Good question. I just, to play in Tier 2 Junior, the Alberta Junior Hockey League, was cool and was fun. But you go down there and you play at Wisconsin and you go to North Dakota in the Ralph Engelstad Arena. You go to Minnesota and our crowd in Duluth, like, I'd never seen, laser shows and the lights off and the band playing and student sections and these crazy chants and everything. It was cool. And I remember just thinking, our first game, I was skating around going, holy shit, I haven't done anything this cool yet with hockey. Like, it was super exciting. So it was kind of a big step into those big programs and be part of, opening weekend, we were ranked number 1 in the country. And, we actually dropped the ball pretty badly down the stretch to not have any success in the playoffs. But it was just, you get caught up in that whole NCAA environment atmosphere with the WCHA at the time and what we were trying to do. And it was super exciting just to get into that whole realm of playing college hockey.
What was your favorite road barn to play in?
I have to say Ralph Engelstad in North Dakota. I'd flown in to look at that place. They didn't give me a full offer. They're kind of teetering on it, and I probably would have gone there had they offered me a ride, but it just wasn't coming, and time was ticking, and I really liked Duluth as well, so I didn't sign with them. But I'd flown down there, and I saw their facilities, and like there's not a whole lot going on in Grand Forks, but that program and the way that building is built with, a casino billionaire's money from Vegas and spared no expense. It is so cool. And to be kind of there on the prairies and the way their student section gets in their crowd, I think that was probably my favorite barn. And we ended up playing them in the playoffs. So it was a cool experience.
Yeah, we've actually had quite a few people come on here and talk about North Dakota specifically. And just, you know what, it's just hockey. There, like you said, there's nothing there. It's all about being at the rink. It's all about hockey. It's all about the facility and what it provides you as a hockey player. And it just sounds like a fantastic place to just go and be a part of that organization.
Yeah, it's pretty wicked. I've gone on with my kids, and on YouTube there's I'm not sure if it's Barstool or whoever did it, but they go into college hockey barns and show you the facilities, and it's cool because those programs, they have a lot of money and they don't have to pay their players anything, or at least they didn't, and they put it into their building and the facility, and they use that as recruiting. And I mean, it spoils those kids because you go to pro, and especially in the minor leagues, it's not all like that. There's some nice facilities, but it's not all like that. And you're treated like just 5-star. It's unbelievable. So yeah, encourage people listening to go on to YouTube, check out Ralph Engelstad Arena, start there, go to the deck in Duluth as well, just because I happen to be familiar with that one, but there's a million of them out there. There's lots of cool stuff to look at.
Switching to your NHL career, you were drafted by Tampa Bay. And you never played for them, but what was the draft like for you? And what was that whole process like?
It wasn't a whole lot. I mean, again, like you say, 7th round, I wasn't, I don't go to the draft. I don't know for sure if I'll get drafted. I think I was ranked to go in the 5th round I guess it wasn't 5th round, but I was top by, 135 of North American skaters or something. Like, that's the first time I really got on the radar as I saw my name in the hockey news, ranked on Central Scouting. And, a buddy in my high school showed me the newspaper and my name was highlighted. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't know this stuff. I didn't have an agent at the time. Because you couldn't. I wasn't that plugged in. So, I mean, I'm getting information through the hockey news, and I knew where the draft was. In 2003, it was in Nashville. I was kind of just paying attention, wondering what would happen. And I was just remember getting out of the shower, and my mom gave me the phone and said, someone asked for you. And they'd said, hey, we just drafted you in the 7th round. Welcome to the Tampa Bay Lightning and whatnot. We're sending you a package out. And this nice leather bag showed up, and it was full of workout gear and their training program and a tracksuit and a jacket and all that stuff. And it was just this, oh my God moment. Like, that's real NHL stuff there. So it was super exciting. And you start going to their camps, right? And Tampa had kind of drafted a whole bunch of big physical D-men after they'd won the cup. And unfortunately, that 2005 lockout, they changed a lot of the rules, right? Obstruction was a thing. They wanted to open the game up. So a lot of the things that those big D-men, including myself, do well, they had too many of them, and it wasn't as valuable as it was a couple of years before. So I got bumped down the depth chart pretty decently. I'd gotten called up on paper, but there was some like immigration issues. So someone else had to go, and their name had all my name on it for the room service and the key card and all that stuff. So I was like that close to getting called up. That was my first year. That year I was a black ace with them in the playoffs, which is a really cool experience. So I was that close, and just lo and behold, a shifting or a coaching change down in the minor system. Coach didn't like me as much. I wasn't as valued. They were threatening to go to the East Coast Hockey League. And I was like, oh, I'm going backwards here. And that's when the opportunity to play forward came up. and I started playing forward, and that's when the scrapping started, and I just felt buried in the organization all of a sudden and thought I needed to get out. So I just kind of put my head down and started fighting anyone who wanted to and just playing wild and trying to make a name for myself. And that was kind of how I got away from Tampa and got into Toronto's organization.
So were you there 2004, obviously the cup year? Were you at training camp with that group of guys like the Cavalier, obviously St. Louis, Richards? Like, were you at that training camp with that cup winning crew?
Yeah, I was. And so it was, so I got drafted in 2003. And then, you go to Traverse City, which is their rookie camp, which, you see the NHL coaches walking around and the general managers and the people, and you're wearing that logo and you're wearing the tracksuit. It's pretty cool. And then you go to their main camp too. And I remember just tiptoeing around the room, man, like Brad Richards, is standing there, Vinny LeCavalier, Marty St. Louis, so much respect for him. He came up to me and started talking to me about Duluth and how we did against Vermont, his alma mater. And I'm like, how on earth do you know who I am at this huge camp? And I'm an absolute nobody. And I really hold him in high regard for coming up to me and BSing like that. Like, he must have known everything about everyone at that camp. Vinny LeCavalier, I ended up playing with him in Philly. He's one of the nicest guys in the world. Unbelievable. And Dave Anderchuk's cruising around the locker room, Habby Boolin, and it was just surreal. And you don't last too long at those camps at the time, but you get the experience, and kept going to their camps afterwards. And pretty awesome experience, man. And obviously they've had tons of success afterwards. So yeah, who knows if things were different, it could have worked out in Tampa. Obviously a pretty cool organization, but for my situation and the way it was to get out of there and get to Toronto was equally as exciting.
Just one more here. Regarding what you said, going defense to forward, that actually is what I did in my career too. I was a D-man, but I had, slow boots. I wasn't very good at getting pucks up the ice, and then I worked out. I made a team, but they had 6D, so they threw me on forward. Changed everything for me. All of a sudden, I learned I could just go run guys, forecheck. I was good at getting in shot lane, stuff like that. So what was that transition like for you? Because that was just minor hockey. We're talking about you're a pro switching positions. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was different. I had played forward, like the first year I played only defense was midget AAA, like when I'm 16. Then you play 2 years junior, a year of university, and then 2 years of pro. So I had a handful of years definitely playing defense. It was a transition, but I guess from minor hockey for that, what that's worth, I was used to playing some left wing. So I knew the basics, and it felt natural, like to skate in on the forecheck and disrupt, to take away the walls, to get on your own wall and protect the puck from the D-man, from just deflecting it to the center support and having clean breakouts, getting out to the point man quick on your D-zone coverage, blocking shots if you need to. I was like, this feels quite natural, and I can play to my strengths more, which is skating well and being physical on left wing. Where at D, like with the rule changes with obstruction and everything, I used to grab guys by the collar and skate them into the corner and like slam them. And you used to can open them and get your stick between their legs and just twist them and fold them up in the corner. That was playing good D, and that was having good position. And now, like, you put your stick between their leg, even if they don't lose the puck, the arm goes up and it's obstruction, and you ride a guy into the corner too long that's holding. And so all of a sudden my strengths were kind of, you couldn't lean on them anymore. And the transition to forward felt like necessary and natural. And I kind of liked it right away. And on forward, there's less responsibility on you. I mean, I give credit all the time to defensemen, and it's probably even more pronounced with goaltenders, but the further to the last line of defense that you are, the more pronounced your mistakes are, and the more exposed you get, and the more is on your shoulders, and the more blame you get. So I guess it was easier to be responsible on wing than it was at D if I wanted to get up to the NHL level with the rule changes they made. So it was kind of a welcome change, I guess.
And I think too, something you said there that I guess not enough, let's say, kids realize. I found it too. There was just something freeing about, like, I wasn't tasked with putting the puck in the net, making that switch, but like you said, something about helping your team out with getting in shot lanes, getting in on the forecheck, getting the puck for guys who were going to put the puck in net. Like, there's something intangible about that, I guess. And that's, yeah, like you said, I like that part of the game more than I did putting the puck in the net, because I felt like I was doing a lot of little things that mattered.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that part of the game kind of went away when, the last, from 2014 to like 2020, 2022, I don't know if that's just an arbitrary number, but like, just seems like there was a big pocket there where hitting was no good. Concussions were on the forefront of everything. Everyone said, you don't need to be big anymore. You don't need to be strong. Don't need to be tough. Don't need to be physical. We're going to, this is the new NHL and we're just scoring like crazy. But I think a lot of teams are noticing, and you see that with the Florida Panthers and with the Vegas Golden Knights. And you see some of the players who are kind of off the radar now, who are now getting multi-year deals in the NHL. They're those guys that do bring that physicality. And I think teams, playing that way long enough, everyone's always trying to get an edge. Everyone's always trying to make a better hockey team. And it had its time where, speed and skill is never going away. These kids are as skilled as ever. I think the NHL is in a pretty good place because there is lots of scoring. These kids are unbelievable. The equipment's incredible. They put so much time into hockey. That skill and speed's not a problem anymore, which they thought it was back in 2005. But they're coming back to, oh shit, we need that big rugged defenseman. We need that tough guy to stand up for our team. We need to be able to intimidate teams. We need to be able to, play any style of hockey that's thrown at us. You can't be one dimensional. And it seems like, that style of play is kind of, I don't want to say making a comeback, but it's becoming more valuable to teams. And you're noticing it with the contracts and the team setups and the Stanley Cup champions lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, can you kind of walk us through your NHL debut and what that was like for you?
Yeah, it was opening night in Toronto against the Montreal Canadiens. There was a fair bit of fanfare with Brian Burke building a new team and just kind of a new era, I guess it kind of seemed like. And yeah, me personally, I was lucky because I played a bunch of exhibition games going up to it. So my routine didn't have to change. I kind of knew what to expect. It wasn't as nerve-wracking as it could have been. I always wondered if my first game, if I was lucky enough to play it, would be a call-up where you're on the road and you got to, leave your team, go to the airport, jump on a plane, meet the team here, get all this new gear, say hi to everyone, be just a total whirlwind. It's difficult to do that. I always thought, man, that must be one hell of a day for those guys. And I wanted it, but if you could do it the way I did it, where you come out of training camp, make the team, come from, being around the guys the whole time, being coached by that coach, going through the routines, it's a lot smoother. So I remember it was just like, oh, I'm playing again tomorrow. We just had an exhibition game a couple days ago. And so I told my dad, my family that obviously, like, I'm going to play in the NHL tomorrow. Like it was unbelievable. I had time to process it and everything, and super nervous, super excited, cannot wait to do it. And my dad flew in last minute to watch it. So that was really cool because I didn't know if he got to town or not. And when I got off the ice on warm up, I saw him like standing up at the top of the tunnel. He took a picture, and it's like one of my favorite pictures. And I was like, oh shit, he made it. And so played the game. And after my first shift, I was like, I sat down on the bench, and I remember I was just like, that's it. I did it. Like I fucking did it. Forever and ever, I can say I played in the NHL. That's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted growing up. And it was so surreal because like that was it. Like just wanted to say I did it, just wanted to. And then it was weird because I had to like readjust all my goals and like, well shit, now what do I want? Like I've been so hyper focused on just saying I made it that, okay, now you got that one game, you officially have played in the NHL, and like now what? So you kind of reevaluate. But it was an amazing day. Brought my dad and a friend of his who lives in Toronto through the locker room and went out for supper and stuff. Unbelievable. It was pretty wicked memories.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
actually a really cool thing you just said there that I guess not a lot of people realize is like, you made it and now what? Yeah. I like that because, yeah, a lot of people don't think that, like, oh, you make it, of course, and then it's like the next game. But you kind of, like you said, you have to reshift your whole focus of like, okay, now that I'm here, what is going to be the next goal? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and because I mean, since you're 12, like I didn't announce it all that much, but I was secretly like so obsessed with getting to the NHL that you thought about it every single day. every night in bed. And then as you go through the steps of hockey, it's your main goal. It's this shining star at the end of this road that if you're so lucky enough to get there, that's what you want. And lots of people have that, and not a lot of people get there. So to have that, yeah, it was this, oh shit, like I'm not sitting here thinking about, I got to try to make it to the NHL. So yeah, you're thinking about staying on the team all year long. Can I get a multi-year contract? Can I get a one-way contract? Can I play 100 games in the league? Can I play how many games in a row? Like I'm trying to stay in the lineup and stuff. So you readjust for sure. But yeah, just a total, pin in it right there on that first game was pretty special.
Who was your first fight against?
It was Travis Moen on the Montreal Canadiens, and he's kind of a middle to heavyweight guy, but my name wasn't out there. It was out there in the minors for sure, but I don't think I was as known in the NHL. So I kind of had to build my reputation up to the big heavyweights and stuff. And we had Colton Orr on our team, and he'd had history with George Larocque. So they kind of had Moen and Larocque, and Orzy said, I want Larocque tonight. He told me that. I said, hey, that's fine. You can take Larocque. I'll see if something happens with somebody else. But I ended up going with Moen for my first fight, and it was funny. It was just last year. I was in an arena in Red Deer, and I bumped into an old agent of mine, which was random. And as I'm standing there, it was like a kid's kind of an elite junior or midget hockey type of showcase, and was talking to a friend of mine, and then he walked by, and the guy I was talking to know him, and he said, hey, do you know Jay? And I said, yeah, you're my first fight ever. And he remembered that, and he was a nice guy. So kind of a blast from the past. But yeah, funny you bring that up, as I just saw him not long ago.
Oh, that's awesome. You fought a lot of guys. Did you ever have a strategy going into fighting? Like, did you watch fight clips beforehand, that type of stuff?
Yeah, I did. Like I'd watch video when that was available to you. You'd be stupid not to watch it. But I didn't get obsessed with it, and I didn't get obsessed with being technical. Again, I didn't box in the summer. I didn't train for any of this. It's kind of insane looking back at it, because it was your bare knuckle fighting with some tough, strong dudes, and it's just pure trial and error. Like your practice is being literally in one of them. So it was kind of wild, but everyone kind of has their style and their way to go about it. My thing was just like pure offense is a good defense. Like he's not going to be hitting you hard or accurately if he's getting flurried with shots. And I thought the best way to do that was to switch hands, because so often they're good at tying up your dominant hand. You can't get free. You can't do it. You can't punch, and then you're on defense because he's punching if you don't have a good grab. So I just switched to my left. For whatever reason, I was coordinated enough to do that. And some guys think I'm a left-handed person because I fought left-handed so often. People would yell from the bench when I'm squaring up with a guy, he's a lefty. And so if they adjusted to grab my left, okay, now I'll use my good one, like even better. But I just felt like making sure you're free to throw, always put the guy on their heels. They'd have to worry about stopping this barrage before they could even get anything good off. And that was kind of the plan. Whether it worked out or not is a different thing, but that's the plan going into it. And, hockey fights aren't 2.5 minutes long, right? You can win it before they even know it started, and it's damn near over, right? If someone falls or steps on a stick, like you can get the upper hand if you just unload the tank right at the beginning. So just unloading early, tons of offense was always my strategy for sure.
Who was the toughest player you fought?
Yeah, I never like to say one guy, because on any given night, one guy could do the right thing or land the right shot. Everyone's strong. Everyone knows what they're doing at that level, like heavyweights in the NHL. But, I fought Lucic and, McGrattan and Riley Cote and Goddard and, Thornton and Bolton and fucking Westgarth and just tons of guys. All of them are a handful, man. McGrattan especially big and strong and throws tons. And it's just kind of hard to hold off. So he stands out for sure. But again, any night of the week at that level, a guy can have your number. So you just respect the hell out of them. And, you could have your hands full on any of them. Same thing. Those guys that seem like unbeatable and just just invincible. Like, you see videos and they get caught and they get knocked out flat on the ice, and it can happen to anybody. But, I always thought that, Boogaard, like the boogeyman, I thought that he was like especially scary. Like, you're not hurting guys all that often in hockey fights. You get your, like, yeah, okay, you get a bloody nose and a lip or a black eye. Like, that's just minor to me. That's not hurting anyone. But when you're getting really hit in the head hard to the point where you're getting like these concussions from it, you're crushing your face, you're breaking your orbital bones. Boogeyman did that to guys, and it was bloody scary. And then the other guy was Steve McIntyre. He did it to guys too. They just have such hard right hands that they're physically hurting guys. So against those guys who I didn't have to go because they kind of just said, "Hey, what's up, bro?" They didn't ask me, and I wasn't going to ask them. So it was cool with me to let that go, because those two guys are the guys that, like, you honestly feel like you're in danger. Where for everything else, I'm like, I don't care if my nose gets broken or I get a broken lip, like, I can handle that. But it's the caving your face in thing that I was trying to avoid. And those guys were scary dudes.
Is there a fight that you were like clearly remember still? Like, you probably remember a lot of them, but like as a specific fight maybe you look back on?
Yeah, like lots of them. It's crazy how I'm starting to forget a little bit, because I will see something on YouTube and go, "Oh, geez, I forgot about that one." But, ones that there's a lot of buildup to it, you kind of remember when you're going. I remember this time I was fighting Mike Rupp on the Penguins. I had done something to Letang that he thought was bad, even though Letang was just selling it like a complete diver. But that aside, he comes up, he's like, "Hey, Rosie, I know Letanger kind of sold that there, but I got to come after you here." And I said, "Do what you got to do." And then it was a TV timeout. And then so I had to think about it for that whole TV timeout, skate around the ice, go get a squirt of water, like go lean on the boards. Like, you got to wait during those TV timeouts. And then the ice had this big chip in it, they realized. So they went back to TV timeout and fixed the thing on the ice with some snow and a fire extinguisher and a puck, and they're smoothing it all out. I had to skate around again, looking at this 6'5" dude that I'm about to scrap, who I totally respected. So I remember that being like a really long build up to a fight. Usually I like it when they happen spur of the moment during the play, get it over with, spring load your shit and let's go. And it's kind of a whirlwind, but that one took a long time to build up to, it seems. So I kind of remember that.
On that topic, were you one of the guys that thought about, like, the night before, you were like, "Hey, here's the lineup, here's who I could match up against"? Like, were you that, or were you kind of freely just like, if it happens in game, it happens in game, doesn't really matter who the opponent is?
Yeah, kind of a mix of both, man. Like, I think you're dumb if you don't do your due diligence and know who's on that team and what they do. Like, the classic screw up is not knowing a guy's a lefty and you go in there and just get your lunch fed to you because you have no idea what's going on. And again, the fight's over before you even know what was going on. And you need to know who's doing that with a guy that's on the other side who has been scrapping a lot. You learn that shit. And so I'd watch some video. I don't know when, like, you do it right before bed, then all of a sudden you might have trouble sleeping or falling asleep and you're thinking about it and going through scenarios. So I'd check it out enough to where I knew what was going on. And then once you're in that kind of world, you know who's doing what, and you get her kind of down pat, and then you might have to do a little bit less homework. But yeah, kind of a balance of not thinking about it, not worrying about it, let it happen, let it be natural. There's some anxiety involved too with having that on your mind for a day and a half or whatever on a road trip, knowing that this guy's in wherever waiting for you and it's going to happen. So that kind of gets on you. So kind of a mixture of both, to know you're prepared, but not have to dwell and think about it all day, is I guess what strategy I took.
Did you ever, actually staying on that, later in life after your career, have you talked to anyone that were like, "Man, I was anxious to fight you," and you're like, "Oh, thank God, like I was anxious to fight you too," like any kind of just funny, clips?
Yeah, totally. That's happened. And I mean, I think it's probably the same for everybody who's done that job. Like, people knew you were tough, and people, knew your strengths and were like, "Geez." And I've had, I think I had Luke Gazdick on a podcast or something, and I think he said something like, yeah, and then we had to play Philly, and I fucking was like, God damn it, I know Rosehill's there, and I wonder if we're going to have to scrap or not. And I was like, oh, really? You thought that? Because, interesting, because, everyone's thinking the same thing. That's why guys kind of give each other a shot on the back afterwards, because it's like, fuck, we both know what we're going through here. We know why we're doing it. And it's not like a hatred for the other person, right? It's the same person as you. You'd probably be damn good friends if you're on the same team, and lots of times you have been this guy's teammate. So there's not a lot of actual hatred, but you will do anything not to lose, and you will do anything to help your team and to bump your stock and to win that, right? So it's kind of odd, but yeah, there's times you talk to guys afterwards and it's like, man, I hated how you did this, or fuck, did you hit hard and stuff, and you're like, oh, that's funny. I didn't even know you'd be thinking about me. So yeah, it's kind of a compliment, I guess, when you get that.
Awesome.
I wanted to go back just for a second because you mentioned Colton Orr, and he was one of my favorite players when he played for the Kamloops Blazers, and was a guy that was the very first fight I ever saw live when I was a kid. And I loved him for an obvious reason. We have the same first name. So I was curious, was he kind of like a mentor for you when you were in Toronto, kind of teaching you the ropes on how to fight and just kind of how to do that?
Well, not how to fight. We had
Yeah.
totally different styles, and at that point in time, sure, we'd give you, we really wouldn't. Fighters don't give each other tips. Like, it's like, buddy, I know I've been in these before, and it's not like, well, if this happens, try that. It's just not, it doesn't work that way. It's all instinctual. I find, we jostle around with each other just to like test out a sore shoulder or something like that. But where he was kind of a mentor is just having him there for support, to talk about the tough guys on the team that we're playing, or who's coming up, or, playing on his line. It's like, hey, let's unload the tank early here. Or if we're lost all our momentum and it's the second period and they just scored on us and we get kicked over the boards, I'll look at him and be like, let's fucking get this thing going, right? And we know that we're going out there to stir it up and to hit everything and to run around and try to get the puck to the net and fucking hit the brakes right in front of their goalie and says, who fucking doesn't like that? And if someone doesn't, fucking here we go. Like that kind of thing. So you got that guy there to help you. And he'd been in the league longer than me. Fucking huge right hand, monster fucking scrapper, handled everyone, leads with his chin and just throws heavy. Like, respect the hell out of the guy. So it was great to have him there. And he could have been a dick to me if he wanted and been like, I'm the heavy here. Do you think you're going to come and step on my toes? Like, sometimes that could potentially happen, I guess, but he was totally warm to me. We were more like a tag team type of deal than competing with each other. And he had a 4-year contract there that he was just on. So I don't think he had any worry about his job or security. He was totally good. So that probably played a part into it, but he was a good guy to me. We roomed on the road together in hotels and stuff. And again, it was nice to have him there as like just a level of support when you're getting your feet wet in the NHL and getting used to everything, for sure.
On the topic of momentum, was there ever a fight that you had finished and you were just like, holy fuck, that just changed everything for us?
Yeah, that happens. It's not every time, unfortunately, but it happens a lot. That's the point of it oftentimes. But one time that stands out was we're on the father's trip with the Leafs, and we go into New York. We're at Madison Square Garden. All the dads are up in the box there. Dion Phaneuf had absolutely killed someone that night with one of the biggest open ice hits. I can't remember the guy's name on the Rangers, but it was like all over the replays. They went up to the dad's box and showed his dad. He's looking around with all our dads going, holy shit, did you see that? So physical game. And they had scored, or I think we were down 1 and they had scored on us and we were just skating in mud. So I went out there and I asked Brandon Prust and said, let's go, Prust, let's go. And he's not the biggest guy in the world, absolute bulldog, tough as nails, but maybe going up a half a weight class kind of thing. He goes, okay, let's do it. And we did, and we just happened to be at center ice. So I'm fighting at center ice, Madison Square Garden, where like Ollie and Frazier or Foreman, have had the most famous boxing match in the world, and scrap. And I did good and kind of spun him around after. And got the boys fired up, and the dads were all fired up. And whether that had a lot to do with it or not is, up for debate. But for the minutes that I was in the penalty box, we scored 2 goals right away and got the lead, and we won the game. And getting on the bus afterwards, all the dads are half cranked and everyone's happy because we came back and won. And they're like, your fight changed fucking everything. And like, the boys snapped right out of it. And you're like, okay, thanks. But a situation like that is where you can kind of be like, I did it at the right time or with the right guy, did my job. And there's a reason it exists, and there's a reason that you do it, and it's exactly that. So you feel like you did your job, and it helped the boys out a little bit, even if it's not as visible on the score sheet.
Talking kind of like historically, just like that, you played for Philly, right? The old Broad Street Bullies, all that. Was there kind of a sense of pride being on the next wave of tough guys in Philly, kind of continuing on that Broad Street tradition of how tough they were?
Yeah, for sure. That's an element to it. I mean, they've always had that reputation, and the guys that are running the show in Philly are the guys that had that reputation. It was Paul Holmgren that brought me there and signed me. It was Ron Hextall who was the GM during my time there. Dave Brown is up in the top office. Bobby Clark is walking around with a title around there. It's the old boys club from the Broad Street Bullies. So they do value that. Philly's always had a tough team and a tough guy. And so I definitely understood that. And when you're cruising around town and you're around events or whatever, and people, in that city will come up and value you as a tough guy as much as any other team, because they love that shit in Philly. They're blue collar, they're sports oriented. They love the tough stuff. They love the rough and tumble stuff. They always have. And, so yeah, to be the heavy on the Flyers was definitely cool. I was kind of there by myself. Like, I didn't have a Colton Orr beside me, and kind of had to handle it all. There's other guys that would do it, but I was kind of that label, right? So it was awesome. And I was older and more mature and had a little bit more confidence in the league. Unfortunately, that was right at the time where all that shit started to go away. Bugard, Belak, Rippin had all died in the same summer. And the media loved bringing that up and thinking that it was fighting in hockey that caused it, even though they're 3 completely different scenarios in my mind. It pissed me off. And I really still to this day blame the media for just making a big deal about it and getting awareness that, the league is purposely putting players in danger. It's like, we signed up for this. Everyone wants to do this. This is how we love this. We love this. Everyone has already been polled, and like 98% of the players want to keep fighting in hockey. Don't ban it. Even the guys that don't fight are like, yeah, don't ban fighting in hockey. I don't have to fight if I don't want to. Everyone knows that. So it really went away, man. And it was a chain reaction in the league. Right in the middle of my tenure in Philly, everyone got rid of their tough guy. And Hextall held on to me as long as he could. And he just said, I just can't justify it. And that was the end of my time in the NHL. So it kind of sucked, because I felt like I was ready to take another step and be a regular and have some more confidence with the puck and really use my body to protect the puck and have some ozone time and be a guy that can log more minutes and do more. And it took me a while to get there. And I think I was still on my way getting there, just because I get caught up in the glitz and glamour and the holy shit, I can't believe I'm in the NHL. And, you got to set your goals a little bit higher. Like, well, I want to play 8 minutes a night, and I want to play 10 minutes a night, and I want to get this many points, and I want to earn this much ice time. I didn't really get a chance, because I felt like the league changed so much that the heavies were just gone overnight, it felt like. And, but I got a chance to do it for sure. If I was 10 years younger, I don't think I would have got a sniff. And it was, like I said, cool. I felt more comfortable in Philly, just being older and wiser and more used to it. And it was pretty cool years.
And we actually had, Colton and Dayton had Nate Thompson on a couple weeks ago now. And I just want to talk what they talked about him about accepting the role, I guess, like going back a bit, kind of the beginning, like, how did you kind of learn to just accept the fact that you were going to be a fighter and you weren't going to be asking for those extra minutes? You weren't going to be expecting the puck on your stick as much, where you had to just be like, all right, this is it. This is where I'm fitting in.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really a time. I mean, obviously, when I switched from D to forward, with the forechecking and the being around the goalies and the having that free reign to run around a little bit positionally, really brought on the fights. Like, you do that at that time in that league, in the American League, they're one of their 2 or 3 heavies is going to grab you that shift or next shift, right? Even if you don't do that, they're probably going to come and say, hey, we're going. Like, they just want to get the momentum going, get the crowd going, get the boys going, intimidate the other team. And it happened a lot, man. So I just, all of a sudden I look up and it's halfway through the season and I have 16 fights, and it's like, oh boy. And you're cresting 30 fights in a season, and it's 3 in a game I've had before, and a bunch in a weekend, and back-to-back nights, and you're just doing it. And if you're willing, like, I wanted to get out of Tampa's system. I knew I was buried there. I didn't have a future, I didn't think. So I needed to get out of there, find a way. And so that was my whole goal. And once I got traded to Toronto, you snap your fingers and I'm opening night roster playing for them. So I didn't have time to say, well, I want more minutes. I'm just going, holy shit, just got thrown into the NHL. It's all happening. Take what you can and do as much as you can with what you get. And that's kind of your first step. So wasn't a lot of time to sit around and say, well, I guess I'm not going to score 30 goals this year. Like, it's a whirlwind of shit happening, and you're taking it as it comes, and you've kind of already mentally made the decision that I'm doing this. I'm going full throttle, and I don't give a fuck what's in my way. I'm going through it.
My last one on fighting really is just, what do you think of the new boys? Right, I think Pat Maroon and Revo kind of brought it back. But what are your thoughts on the new boys, the Deloriers, stuff like that, kind of bringing it back when you were right? It was dead for the tail end of the 2010s. It's coming back now in the 2020s.
Yeah, it kind of is like, like going back to Philly. I when I was done there, I thought to myself, well, I'm pretty sure I will be the Philadelphia Flyers' last tough guy. I didn't think they would come back. I didn't think they'd get a guy that was considered that. And now they have Delorier, which I think, like, he can play the game and log some minutes, and he's in the today's day and age NHL, which is really saying something. Tough as nails, knows his job. I like that. I like the way he operates. So it's cool that Philly's got a tough guy again. McDermott and Jackeye and missing guys. I haven't thought about it for the whole summer here, but there's a good handful of other guys. There's not 2 guys on every single team anymore, but there's a good handful of them. And when they need to go and when the opportunity arises, I think it's awesome to watch one, man. Everyone loves it. Like, even if you're at a bar and it's like loud and there's a scrap, everyone goes, oh, fight. And everyone kind of stops to kind of watch it. And they just like it. The crowd stands on their feet and claps and bangs on the glass. All the boys stand up and kick the fucking boards. Like, everyone likes it. And when it happens, which isn't that often anymore, it's good. Like, again, guys get up and they're not very often are they hurt, like, at all. And it's cool that those guys are still there. I'd like to see it where, when tensions boil over and you get into those battles, and I'd like to see the penalties called in a way where this ticky-tack shit that doesn't affect the goal scoring and doesn't affect the game, it just goes away like it sometimes does in the playoffs. And you can muck in the corner a little bit. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a 30-goal scorer, or a D-man, or a big guy, or a medium-sized guy, whatever, whoever's on the other side, as long as it's, somewhat matched, just shed your shit off and just throw a bunch and wrestle each other to the ground just to say, fuck you, I'm not backing down. I like that. I hope we see more of it, to be honest. And if it's big boys like the guys we mentioned who are going to square off at center, I'll watch that too. I think it's a wicked part of the game. And people who don't know about it or weren't around it or whatever their problem is, you don't have to like it, and you don't get it. That's fine. That doesn't mean you have to go change it. There's a lot of people that get it and like it, and these guys sign up to do it and are willing, and it's not the scariest thing in the world. And these guys aren't having all this, like, the trauma from head injuries is much more from being a body contact sport. Those come 10 times more from being body checking. No one has ever even brought up the fact of taking body checking out of hockey. I wouldn't want to either. But if you're really all about stopping concussion, well, but no one's even brought it up. And I get it. Fighting's it's weird. It's out there. You can't do it in football. You can't do it in rugby. You can't do it in other sports. People from other countries go, what is with you guys bare knuckle fighting in the middle of a game for no reason? And everyone just claps and you keep playing. I get it. It's fucking crazy. It is weird. It is odd. It is so unique to our sport. And I think that's another reason why I just think it's awesome and I love it.
Yeah, that actually reminded me one more thing. Sorry, Colton, I'll throw it in there. Is the Four Nations, that triple brawl to start. Is that since the Line Brawl Flames Canucks 5-5, is that the best fight we've seen in an NHL event kind of since then? Like, it was incredible.
For sure it was. Like, that one you referenced was one, and I think the Rangers and Devils had one some years back. I guess I'm probably going back a while now. It's certainly not all that common. But that's kind of to my point earlier on how these young guys they're all stars. Not one guy on that team ever needs to drop his gloves. No one would question him all that much. Those guys are all skilled enough, but they understand the value in it, and they really care. And all those players were so passionate about playing for their country. It took everyone by surprise because everyone's like, what's this made up tournament? And it just blew everyone's hair back. And why was it? Because of the intensity level. The intensity level of that tournament was through the roof. Did anyone get hurt? No. Was it dirty, cheap shot stick? No. It was just a bunch of men who cared a whole bunch about what they were doing, that the intensity level of what people were willing to do to get what they wanted, which is win, it just went through the roof. And guess what? Everyone fucking loved it. Everybody did. There's not one person who would even dare open their mouth about that Four Nations tournament and what happened with Canada, United States, that was like, I just don't like it. I didn't like it. I wish nobody. It was unbelievable. And it was all set forth by the players. It made that tournament. It set the table for the Olympics this year. I hope the Olympics aren't going to be a letdown this year, because everyone's got that in the back of their mind, and you're going to have these European refs that are just so bad that they suck the life out of the game. It might be a little bit disappointing, maybe. I hope I'm wrong, but
and no fighting, of course.
Of course not. Of course not. But just the hitting, the physicality, the ability to let the pot boil over a little bit when you're playing for a bloody gold medal, I think it should be fairly intense. But the refs seem to prevent it from getting to that point a lot. We'll see. But to your point, that was unbelievable, and everybody, I think, agrees with it. It's all anyone was talking about for days and days and days.
Jay, my last one for you. You wore a few different jerseys throughout your career. What was your favorite one to wear?
Oh, yeah, it would be a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, 100%. One of the old school ones. I wore a few different ones. You get to wear some of the throwbacks, and there's third jerseys at the time. And it's actually the crest they've adopted now full time is that kind of old school Maple Leaf. They went away from the block square one that they used all through the 90s and 2000s. We had a third that we were on opening night, so I guess it's my first game jersey. It's hanging up over there, but it's got that old school Maple Leaf on it. It's a heavy jersey. They got lighter and lighter as you went, but it's a really cool jersey. And I remember looking at that logo, being in that room before that game that you mentioned, my first one, going, are you fucking kidding me? And I threw it over my lap to put it on. It's got my name on the back of it. I was like, this is nuts, man. It was so exciting. So I value that one quite a bit. It's those Leafs jerseys, man, with their history. I'm a bit of a biased guy doing a podcast on the Maple Leafs and keeping up with them pretty heavily these days. But the history of them is pretty cool.
My last one, actually, I have one more for you before we let you go. Just because you're talking about the Leafs. What do you make of Mitch Marner being out, and what do you figure happens this year for Toronto?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? I was a fan of letting Marner go. He's a really good player. But just with the salaries and the salary cap and what he would command to re-sign him, you have the same problem that you've had for the last years and years and years, is you have too much money tied up in too many of the same type of player. And as good as they are together, it didn't lead to playoff success. I mean, that was proven. So to allocate even more money to one of those players, it's not necessarily against Mitch. The way he plays isn't my favorite, although he's very skilled, and he breached 100 points that year, which he's very skilled and he does some defensive things. I get it, but to sign him for that kind of money to go along with the guys that are already locked down in Toronto, I just think that would be the definition of insanity, of doing the same shit you've been doing over and over again with no success, and you're going to expect it to be different, expect a different result. I thought you had to move on from him, and it was difficult. And I think Treliving did a damn good job getting something in return for him when, you could argue that he should have moved on back back some time ago and his no trade didn't kick in, that would have been a whirlwind shitstorm fireable offense because the seed hadn't really set in that, hey, I think we've proven that this combination of players isn't going to work. And it needed a couple more losses in the playoffs to prove that. And I just think it was worth doing. And I like the pieces that Tree has put in place to get the team to check some of the boxes on where they were losing series and why they weren't successful in the playoffs. And I don't know how these players are going to play and who's going to have a good year and who's going to struggle in Toronto and who's not. But as a GM, all you can do is put names on paper that you think work. And then the coach has got to get those guys to figure out how to play together and find that unity and have an identity that works for winning games and especially, playoff series. I don't think the Leafs have a lot of problems getting to the playoffs. They got enough guys with firepower who can win regular season games. It's those fucking playoff wars where they just get caught looking at it. Like the going gets tough and those seams aren't open and that time and space isn't there. And those players that they had every time, you can watch the tape, look at the look on their faces. They're like, we don't fucking know what to do because this is heavy and we don't have our normal time and space, and that's playoff hockey. And I think part of the problem there was, like I mentioned before, some of the hockey style of play and the teams that were being built were heavy teams that said, we're going to lean on physicality, taking away time and space, being very, very aggressive. And those players aren't used to that in the regular season. 82 games. There's nights where you're in Columbus and you can have your 4-point game, but it's just not going to be like that in game 5 or 6 or 7. And I don't think the way that team was built was good enough to get over that. And I think most people agreed with that. I think the brass did, and they have made the changes, and you can't snap your fingers and put all the pieces in place overnight, but I think they've done well with what they've put together. And we'll see if, Michelli and Juan, these guys can find places. And I think they're a name short still. I think they have a trade or a signing or something. And thankfully they have salary cap room to maybe make that happen. But if you get one name, I think they're one name away on the forward side of things of plunking it in there. And I think you'll see that forward lineup really fall into place and go, holy shit, we've got a lot of weapons here, a lot of different styles, a lot of things that could go right. And now it's just up to those guys to make it right, make it happen. But I see the potential for sure.
Awesome. Jay, thanks so much for joining us today. You're a fucking beauty. This was great.
Yeah, thanks, boys. I appreciate you having me on. It was fun.
Right,
yeah, it was great. Yeah, thanks.
You bet.
Fellas. Great interview. Great stuff. Riley, good job today. I couldn't even tell the difference. It was almost like me up there.
You did good.
Good.
Guys.
It was fun.
Good stuff. Jay was awesome. That was awesome to have him on. But boys, next Monday, Jake O'Brien interview drops. That'll be fun. It's a good one.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. What are you boys up to this weekend? What's going on? What's the rest of the weekend looking like for you boys?
Today is Thursday.
I know, but we don't usually drop the next viewer. We don't say what's going on tomorrow. We've gone away from that.
It's true. But we already recorded that, so.
Yeah, I don't know. In my current unemployment, I'm spending family time because I fly out to Calgary for some new job training on Sunday. So that's where I'm at. Just gonna be relaxed and hanging out with the fam. I know that we do have our mini game episode coming out on Saturday. We're gonna be putting that out as well. So we got some pre-recorded stuff that is coming out pretty soon here.
Yeah, go subscribe to the YouTube, fellas. I know the last time I checked, 261 of you tuning in on the Twitter. Go head over to the YouTube. There's lots of other stuff other than these lives. We've got lots of podcast episodes, lots of special episodes that we're coming out with, like Riley just mentioned. We did like a trivia night. We ranked some jerseys, did all that sort of stuff coming out on Saturday. And Jake O'Brien, that interview is going to be running on Monday in the time slot that this usually runs, but Colton's going to be flying to Toronto with Daily Face-Off, so that's what's taking place on Monday. But tomorrow we also have a good one, but stay tuned for that one. And I guess that kind of does it on today's episode, fellas?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, fellas, I guess thank you for tuning in. We'll be right back here tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on GDT Live. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into another video over here on the Game Day Tarps podcast and the Hockey Podcast Network. We've got so much more where this came from, so smash the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell, turn the notifications on so you never miss a beat. For myself and the rest of the guys over at Game Day Tarps, we thank you, and we'll see you next time.